I will admit that I've got a face made for radio. But there's one thing that has come to my attention, that the Apple MacPro 2013 version, the thing that looked as if a Dalek had had sexual intercourse with a dustbin, is a scam of epic proportions. The fact of the matter is that if you take the components of the MacBook Pro, they need over 700 watts of energy to actually produce, i.e. to live up to their maximum potential. Apple, in their great wisdom, only put in a 450 watt power supply unit. And there's a good reason for this. Because if you look at the Apple Mac Pro, the energy dissipation, i.e. the heat dissipation, portion of the system is comprised of aluminium. Now, if Apple was actually interested in creating a system that was efficient, that heat dissipation part of their system would have been comprised of copper, which is twice as efficient as aluminium at dissipating heat. And let's face it, that's why you've got a heat sink. You know, the heat goes from the CPU or the GPUs to the heat sink, and then it gets flushed out by the air circulating through the system. So the only people that have been reasonably honest in testing the Mac Pro were Aandtech. And weirdly enough, running the system at the maximum energy that the CPU could supply, the PSU could supply, both the CPU and the two GPUs were at 95, 96 degrees centigrade. It's a con. It's a scam. Apple are selling a product with a specification, but the rest of the system cannot support that specification, which means you will never ever ever be able to get the performance or the promise of the potential of the product from the actual product itself. And I went to Apple in my town. I told them I was going to expose the scam. I asked for comment and I was papped off. Now, I do not know who will see this video, who will act upon it. But honestly, well, I should say dishonestly, Apple has done a disservice to their customers and to anyone who in good faith has bought their system, relying upon it to be competitive. In all seriousness, I've got a 4790 CPU and a pathetic i9 280X, and I can pretty much reproduce on this system what Apple has with its super duper dual Fury, Fire Pro, and its multi-core Intel CPU. The reason for that is those components can never ever reach anywhere near their potential. It's a con. 450 watts cannot supply energy for a system that running flat out, and I'm just talking about the GPUs and the CPU, both of them together to run flat out, need over 700 watts of energy. You know, when you factor in RAM, etc., you know, like, it just doesn't happen. Aandtech came close to exposing the fraud, but they didn't actually go that step further and call it a fraud. I'm calling it a fraud. It's a scam. If you want, if any legitimate news source had wanted to test the MacPro, they said, yeah, okay, fair enough. It's basically an Intel system. Let's whack on an Intel OS like Windows, and let's really benchmark the hell out of this thing. The way that it's done with any other system, with any other Intel system, because it is an Intel system. I mean, it's AMD AMD graphics. It's Intel CPU. The rest of it, it's pretty much going to be, because we're not interested in the periphery. So we don't care if there's, you know, like Thunderbolt drivers or whatever. But just for the CPU and the graphic card, and then whack it under load. Now AMD came close, and at 400, it was 463 watts, I think they had. They had the PSU going there. The CPU and the GPUs were at 95, 96 degrees centigrade. They're at thermal throttling. It's a con, and anybody buying it, you're buying it for the aesthetics, you're not buying it for the performance. The system does not and cannot supply the potential inherent in the hardware. If you want hardware, if you want performance inherent in the hardware, you can't buy Apple. The Mac Pro is not a workstation, it's a con. It's a scam. It's form over substance. If you want to buy it, good, all well and good, because you like it and it looks cool on your desktop and blah blah yada. But the thing is, with one weaker CPU and just one graphic card with a copper-based heatsink, you would have a shed load more performance out of the damn thing. And you can easily do it if you have a Mac Pro. Just install Windows onto it, put a Windows benchmark on it and whack it up. And in comparison to any normal PC, because the Mac Pro is a PC, there's no magic Apple ingredients in it. The GPUs are from AMD, and the CPUs from Intel. And you'll notice just how piss poor pathetic the entire performance is. And as I say, you can look on Aandtech, Google Aandtech Mac Pro. I think it's on page 6 or something. They actually have kind of like the performance temperature data, and you'll notice something isn't kosher.